I'm a jack of all trades, a master of whatever I put my mind to. Everything in moderation, including moderation. Tonight won't be a wild night, at least not for me. I'll have plenty of those in the future, when I'm fit and healthy. When my body can take it. At the moment, I've got a bit of a cough. I've come from hot and sunny climes back to cold and wet. Yeah, deal with it. I twisted my knee when I was in hospital. There's a story to it. Doesn't really matter. I've done far worse injuries and recovered from far worse traumas than that. I did, 10, 12 miles a day around San Antonio, up and down the hills on crutches when I needed them. And one crutch when I needed one, and none when I didn't need them at all. They were too short for me to carry on my shoulders, which was a pain. It would be nice if they'd been longer. Sorry, I just knocked my light. It's electricity, it's not a candle. It's not going to fall all over and burn the house down. Neither is this. It's about using, not abusing. There are times to go wild and times to go silly, and they're special, and they should be enjoyed. Don't spike people, don't force people to take things what they don't want to. Find your own drugs, and the first time you try something, try it with someone who you trust. Friends who are going to look after you and make sure that you're alright. That applies to everything, and we make mistakes. I'm learning. My first time on the radio, I'd really like to actually hear back the tapes to see what I actually said. I have some memory of it. And you got the philosopher, he was angry. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I was going down for a swim. I had my swimming trunks on. I'd worn them when I was on the boat, and I'd worn them not before. I'd worn a different pair of pink trunks before. They were swimming shorts. I've worn the pink ones before when I've been elsewhere. People have seen my bits. The first time an adult woman who wasn't my mother washing me, or my aunts, or whoever washed me when I was a baby, and the nurses then, but as a mature adult, I had my penis and ballsack shaved and held by a 24-year-old nurse. She wasn't sexually abusing me. She was shaving me from the belly button down to go in for an operation, because this at the time was the best medical thinking about how to prevent infection. Now, I rose to the occasion, and what she said was, "You're going to make some women very happy." Well, I have. And not all of them have been lovers, because I've had far more female friends than I've had lovers. And if you see photos of me with someone, well, there's only one way that it can be. If we're lovers, that it shows. And that's the act. There are some of those pictures, but they were private. They were shared in the moment. And we, us, aren't the only people to do this. I look after myself, I look after my feet, because they keep me walking. I want to do the barefoot philosopher thing when the climate's appropriate. I'm not stupid. I do have a fair idea of what I'm doing now. What I'm doing might seem very odd and bizarre to some of you. Well, welcome to the human race. Welcome to Homo technogenesis. This is the beginning. Welcome to Homo technologicus. This is how we do it. And welcome to Technologius. This is us. We are. Those of you who get the message and as it spreads. Now, I want to take it slowly, I want to take it easily, but I would like to actually have some comfort in my life, more than I have. I would like to have a technology suite that works, everything that is seamlessly together, as it does for those who have the money to do this. I do have the money to do this, but that money is finite, and I've got things I'd rather do with it. You want to invite me to an event, pay for the expenses, I'll bring some spending money, and when it's age appropriate, when we are mature, and there's an agreement that there is an acceptable set of behaviour, then I like to bend the rules. I like to dance on the line. But whilst I don't mind offending, there are certain things that go beyond the pale. When someone has a serious health problem, it's not funny to take the piss. Unless it's acceptable because you're amongst mates. Now, I had a fantastic time in Ibiza. I would say I made some real good friendships there. And sometimes friendships get off to a rocky start, sometimes they don't, and sometimes you argue and bicker. And this can be our friendship, that we slag each other off. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what we do together as a species, where we are going next and how we get there. Now, to me, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, the British Isles, I think we should put forward a national government. They're not doing anything now, they're literally taking the piss. It's how I got news for you is the only news I've seen. And that was the one that was shown when I was away. I'm avoiding the news at the moment. It lets my head stay clear. And I think you already know this. Various. How many of us are there? I'll find out one way or another. There are lots of people who are talking about me. I understand. I'm going to put my hat on because my head's a bit cold. Look, it's a panda hat. I look silly. Or do I? I'm going to take these off. I will go and get some of my sunglasses, but I've not got any handy. Can't be bothered. Nobody's watching this. Or are you? How we put this together is going to structure the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 100 million, billion, trillion years of the human species. But not just the human species, but every single species that exists on planet Earth. Every single breath we take, every single action we make, changes the universe, the multiverse in which we exist. If you don't like the ride, then get off. Stop breathing. Your choice, not mine. I think there are a lot of people who are suffering all sorts of things that would say, yeah, okay, their choice, as far as I'm concerned. Now, there's all sorts of medical research that we're doing, and we really need some volunteers. Well, how many people would say, hang on, if I'm going off, can you give me a chance? Can I make a mark? I already have, I've made loads, I'll make more. If you want to see the whole show, well, I want to do medical reveal at some point and have all the x-rays and all the scans so it can be put up on slides and I'm stood there naked, maybe with some body paint on to show up the scars. Maybe have a skeleton painted. And this will be for an invite-only audience, and the invite is you ask to be here, and you understand that this is a medical thing, and if there are people in the audience who want to be naked, well, they can be naked, and if there are people in the audience who don't want to be, well, could we put some face paint on them, that if the camera scans across, the computer will pick it up and put an avatar on instead, an image, so that we can be completely anonymous, or you can if you choose. I'm not. I don't mind sharing my medical information with those who are doing medical research. I don't mind making yet another contribution. From when I was a baby, this has been my story. The consultants who dealt with my issues, the doctors and the specialists, they talked to each other and they talked to other professionals in the field. One of these names is a Mr. Charnley, who was involved in all sorts of research into hip replacements. After, well, before, after, during. I know Mr. Stainsby, Mr. David Stainsby, the man who operated on me as a baby, and the whole team who assisted, and everybody involved. Because it wasn't just him or one as lonesome with a candle that he had made himself, using a rock knife that he had chipped away himself. They gave me A, my life, and B, the ability to walk as a cripple. I've been through some horrific things. I tell stories about this because this is how I understand it. This is actually what I think we all do. All of us. And in that, I consider every life form within the entire multiverse. That in some way we do what we have to do to survive, to reproduce, to thrive. Well, the future for that is up in the stars. That's a long step away. First of all, it's harvesting asteroids, well, going to asteroids, finding out what they're made of, finding out how to break them down into the component parts. Because they're made of the minerals which make up Earth. So any rare earth elements, they're going to be up there. Anything we need. Now when it comes to life on other planets, I think we should give it a chance. Now if we find bacteria and microbes on Mars, and we could put a little dome over, raise the temperature a bit, add a bit of water, see what happens. And you can take away the dome and it will return to what it is. Over however many hundreds, thousands, millions of years. But I think we should be getting into the moon base, and we can put all sorts of scanners on the dark side of the moon, which will show us all sorts of things about the multiverse that we've never seen before. We can start building giant telescopes and arrays in space that are thousands of miles in diameter, pure, undivided. What are we missing when we're scanning and putting together the pieces? What we're doing now is drawing by dots, dot to dot to dot to dot. But what happens if we can make 100 mile, 1,000 mile, 10,000 mile long antenna? What waves will that catch which are beyond our current comprehension? It's a grand dream, but it's a dream for the species of how we launch ourselves and how we can divide into different communities and we can each take our own space and go our own ways. But if we can figure out how to do it while keeping in touch with each other, and if we can find ways to jump about in space faster than light, well, how much faster than light? 2 times faster than light? Well, the nearest stars then become what, 4 years away? If we could get to twice the speed of light, if we can get to 10 times the speed of light, well, in a year we can go 10 light years. In 10 years we can go 100 light years. That's an insignificant amount of distance. To leave this part of our galaxy is going to take technologies which are only dreamt about of in science fiction at the moment. But there are physicists and scientists who write science fiction, and engineers and all sorts of intelligent people who dream this dream, and they've come up with all sorts of theories. And some of these look almost like they might be plausible. There's always an adventure for tomorrow. You don't have to worry about it getting boring. But accidents do happen. People die. I think if you're prepared to take the risk of going to Mars, then you've got to accept there's a risk that the lander will crash. Well, I'll catch you later. I hope you won't crash. We can do everything we can to make sure that you don't, and we should. But the risk is real, and so has to be the decision. These decisions, they affect our lives. Now, when we're children, our parents, our guardians, our carers, our communities help and guide us in various different ways, from tribes that let children sit by the fire as soon as they can walk and crawl and play with stone tools, to some of the crazy stuff that some parents do, bad parents, I would say. Now, some of these might sound extreme. There's the elder brothers, where they're wise people, they're wise men, are kept in a dark cave until they're 16 or 18 or something like that. And they're told the whole story until then, and then they walk out and they see their first sunrise. What a beautiful way to be born. Well, I've been reborn a few times. I've been into operations, been into the operating theatre. You've heard the stories, you've seen the scars. What I wonder is, who's playing the philosopher in Ibiza now? Who's playing the philosopher elsewhere around the world? Who's walking up and pretending to be me? Not me. You. Yes. You. Those of you who understand this. When we are the philosopher rampant, the world unfolds, doesn't it? We might also not agree on our interpretation of it, but I find we all actually tend to. If you take the time to stop and listen and talk to a person, it doesn't have to take long, but you can find a common understanding which allows for deeper connection. But there are those of us who make this our lives. Please look after us. And we'll try to look after you, but this means we've got to be talking to each other. Now, this is where it gets expensive. The institutes, the technology, the communication, the philanthropy required for this. Well, actually, all over the world we have meeting places that are called buildings, where people can get together and talk. We have mobile phones everywhere. We can record video and share it. We can record audio and share it so you don't have to see our faces. We can use various Dragon type text things to put it straight into text. And people make mistakes. I didn't get out what I wanted my first time on the radio when I was speaking live. Was that a mistake? What did I say? I know I got out a couple of pieces, and were technological and various. I know I asked for quiet. I know I said I only had 5 minutes to speak and I had so much to say. But it wasn't the right venue, it wasn't the right time. We learned from our mistakes, and I made one. Well, I didn't. Because it doesn't matter, I'm still here. I didn't fall down and die. And neither did anyone else. Well, apart from the people who did. Because there's people being born and people dying every single moment. You don't have to wait long. Well, currently it's, if you're lucky, over 100 years. But for most of us, it's 70 to 80. Well, I think with my genetics and how old a lot of my grandparents got to, I can look into my 90s. It's whether my hip can take it. Now, it's been in there 14, 15 years. I've not been kind to it. We've had some fun. I've done all sorts of silly things. Doesn't really matter, does it? I'm still here, I'm still going. Now, if I can go for another 5 years, what technologies will be available if we start unleashing our potential? Now, I'm not calling for an end and change overnight. No, that would be ridiculous. The stuff which is happening in America with Congress saying not for the DEA not to attack the medical marijuana places, that was a really good idea. Do it. And other countries around the world do the same. Start doing proper research. Start finding out what is safe and what is not. What can we produce and reproduce? And how do we make sure this is safe for consumption, or as safe as it can be? Because nothing's safe. An asteroid could come down and kill me right now. Somebody could shoot me from the tower over there. This could burn the house down. Anything could happen. Except it's not. No lightning bolts. Now about religion, we all understand or believe the universe within the context of what we're taught, what beliefs and faith that people share. This has been the entire human story, and this is what I study. They say it takes 10,000 hours to make an expert in their field. Well, I spent 180 to 240,000 on studying every single thing that's going on around me and figuring out how, why, and what could be different. I've been very successful at work in doing the job that I was hired to do. Maybe always not in the way that the employer wanted it to be done, but doing it very, very effectively. And I've told all sorts of stories about this, and they're all real within the context of what happened. I work hard, so does my family. So do actually most of you. But there's a way to work hard that's intelligent and takes it easy, and there's one that does not. And that one's a bit more difficult, because that causes problems for people. Language is a curious thing. How we understand what each other says. It's all from the context of our individual definitions we apply to words. I called Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails Maestro earlier on Facebook. When I say maestro, what I think is it's whoever's playing the tune that we are dancing to right now. And whenever now is that we are dancing. They are the maestro if the music's kicking and we're having a good time. If it's failing, then learn from your mistakes. Don't be so drunk, don't be so wasted. Have some practice, or just to get over the nerves, or have a drink or two to get over the nerves, or have a split to get over the nerves. As long as you're in control and everybody in the place is feeling it, then you're the maestro. Me, I'm just the sage in practice, practicing in public, making mistakes or not. 6 o'clock in the morning, going for a swim in the sea. He said I'd been wearing the same pants for 3 days. I could have taken them off and washed them. I was in a lot of pain. Pain stinks. There's actually not much that covers it, apart from staying inside and locking myself away while I was out in the fresh air. I was in the sea. I wasn't drinking anywhere near as much water as I wanted to because it was bloody expensive. And I really didn't want to go through the adjustment of starting to drink local tap water. It takes me about a day and a half. After maybe 4 and a whole day, I'll do it again. Find out if it's safe for the locals to drink the tap water. The poor locals who can't afford to buy bottled water. If everybody's saying no, then you take your choices, you make your chances. But if you have a little bit sort of half and half, about a glass yay big, and you do that for a couple of days, you'll get a bit of the runs, you'll have an unpleasant night, and then the next day, you'll be a bit tired, spend it by the pool or in the sea doing something easy, and then you find your gut's adjusted. When you get home, it doesn't take anything really to get back, it's a little bit loose. Ooh, what is he talking about? Can we be mature, please? Some of this stuff is important. Replacing the system. National government. I've mentioned it a few times, around and about. We did this a while ago. To the Queen, I've got some questions that I would like to ask you. And this also goes to Charles and William and to the family in general. What do you see as your future? Would you like to stay on as the constitutional monarchy, or would you like to retire from that? As a nation, would we like them to retire? Personally, I am a fan of the constitutional monarchy. I think we've done a great job over the last 200 years. Now, there's been all sorts of horrible and terrible things that have gone wrong. But since King Charles II, there's been a share of power between Parliament and the monarch. We haven't had divine rule in this country, and as successive kings and queens have come and gone, the power of the throne has just waned and waned and waned. And there's been some confrontations, and there was a glorious revolution in which not much blood was shed. Well, I would like to see one with no bloodshed. We take a vote at the general election for none of the above. This is to say, we want a new system. We spend the next year starting to put this together, and we can do this to organise and run the campaign and put out all sorts of different ideas to try out group structures, to find the different styles that work. And this is also relevant to different communities and to different peer groups. Certain conversations are happier for some people if they're mature and swearing is allowed. Some conversations are happier for people if the conversation is immature and swearing is not allowed, and these people are using a limited vocabulary because they're not using certain words. And over the next few years, we implement this system, and in 5 years, we have a big party and we say, this is the future, and we set off to the next 10, 20 years. And the technology will just keep on improving. Now we slow the technology down. Say you get a new gadget every 6 months. There's a new one on the market, but there's a 7-year cycle, so that means 14 gadgets being released. And this is new mobile phone, new superproof camera, laptop, Google Glasses, or glasses type thing, game console, TV. You see, what have I left out? An MP3 player. Oh, do you really need one with your phone? Yeah, sometimes it's nice just to have that device. It's got a voice recorder. And what else can we invent? New types of consoles, new types of interfaces. And if it's all working on the same hardware platform, then this gives us a completely different dynamic as to how we organize. And these changes are going to take time to implement. And it's going to be a complete change in copyright and patent. Copyright is important for people who sell their music and whatever it is they produce. And if you're selling a TV show, well, this costs money to make. It's an investment that they're hoping to get paid back on. Now we can use our technology to do this and stream shows to all sorts of niche communities. So we can share what we like. Now paying for all this is about the economy. And John Maynard Keynes said that it's impossible to model an economy. And when he said this 70 or 80 years ago, he was right. They didn't have the computing technology, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have the ability to crunch the huge amount of numbers to model an economy. And they didn't have the speed of communication in order to get the information there before it became incorrect. We can now not do this fully. The infrastructure isn't all there. But in theory, yes. But we can't model a different economy that's going to be of any particular use in predicting what happens with our own future. So we could model our own system and remake it almost like a game. And the people who run this and control this, well, they're wealthy, powerful people that live lives of a fair amount of comfort and luxury, which is what I want. It will make the pain a lot easier. I mean, I want to think so much. You'll be able to move and dance better. And back to the medical science fiction technology. I need a new pelvis, new thigh bones, new tibia and fibula, humerus, thigh bone. My knees are both shot. Regardless of tripping over the week, my lower spine is not good. My whole spine, my rib cage, my shoulders, my neck, it's all crooked. It's all out of shape. So I can have all of those replaced. And whether you can replace all of those, well, can you also replace all of my internal organs? This would be effective immortality. As long as the mind can take it, and our mind can. I've already talked about watching the formation of a solar system, watching a gas cloud condense, and then watching planets condense, and sitting for billions of years and just watching. Not intervening, not playing as God, just watching. Now, I suspect when I do this, I might not be alone. There might be a big group of us all in here together, and my eyes are getting tired because I'm tired. So I'm going to finish watching Hawkeye, and I'll probably go off to bed, or I might wake up, but who knows. I'll catch you later. I will catch you later. I know I've just said some things that might have spun out your head. because it takes time to think about this and if you've got to watch it again and again. I'll catch you when I see you. Good night, folks.